Double again, that's kind of nice. There we go. All right, call this meeting of the Board of Public Works, City of Washington, Tuesday, December 22nd, 7:30 a.m. Call to order. Roll call, please.
John Vietmeyer,
Here.
Mike Raditek,
Here.
Brad Mitchell,
Here.
Steve Richardson, Steve Struberg,
Here.
Steve Sullentrup, Mark Wessels.
Here.
Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have a packed room again. Thank you all for coming. If you've had a chance to review the minutes, if there's any questions, comments, changes, or a motion.
Second.
Motion to approve and second it. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes approved. Thank you very much. And our guest speaker has stepped to the podium. Mr. Nilgis.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Kevin is on his way, sorry, I guess it didn't hit his calendar, so he's getting across town. So if he's got anything to add, we'll talk to him about that. But in the wastewater items, what you see there is a memo for a contracted amount of $30,250.65. That was for the impeller upgrades. We did talk about that at the last meeting. Basically, they improved the impellers at the lift station with a different wearing ring to kind of reduce maintenance and allow for that operation or that lift station to last much longer than what it's done in the past. So we're just asking for your approval to make that payment. To my knowledge, it has been installed as per the
Any questions,
approval to do
gentlemen?
so.
So moved. Okay.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor to send this forward for payment? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, send it through to the council.
Perfect.
Thank you very
for
much.
that. Hey, Kevin. We just covered,
Motion to adjourn.
We just paid a bill.
I apologize, guys.
it's all good.
It's all right, that's all
You're the
right.
one that wanted us to move it.
You knew that was coming. That had to come, yeah.
I expect it. I expect everything. Hit me up, guys.
Kevin, we just went over the Van Deventer Engineering contract.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think there's anything else to add on that.
No, they're in, they're working wonderful. I expect another 15, 20 years life out of them, hopefully. We'll see how it goes, as long as our sludge stays the way it is, our sewage.
We'll let the next guys approve the next one.
Yeah.
Anything else on wastewater, Kevin?
No. Can I borrow your agenda for 1 second? Let me just look at it. I left it, I rushed out, just leave it there.
Oh, your packet, Kevin, is on the desk over there.
Ah, perfect.
I would just add on wastewater, I know, Kevin, we had some, in this year's budget, another slip lining project that we're working on. We had a pretty big package that went out late
Yeah.
fall. So we're gonna be working on that late winter to come up with another package to send out hopefully springtime-ish. And then also, we did do 25 manholes of that OBIC material, that OBIC, I think that you all kind of checked out. Everything, I think, is functioning pretty well with that with those manholes that we did do. And then we're also looking at getting another 25 potentially this year. So something we can add just to look forward to.
Yeah, we budget $50,000 a year for manhole rehabilitation, and that's what that is. So we're going to move forward with spending that money every year and get every manhole we can that's in the area that's old manholes lined, and that's another infiltration and inflow issue we take care of. So every one we do is just a better number to reduce that. So
With all that, the work and it's in the old area, and especially this past year over on the west side, is there any statistics or indication on what we have
With the positives. that are-
remedied with the inflow? I'm sure there is, but
There is some pretty exciting ones. We don't want to get too excited about it, but we haven't had huge rain events, I guess. But I forget what the flows into the treatment plant, what the latest numbers were. They were somewhere 2.2 maybe MGD.
We were running 2.2 to 2.6. During a heavy rain event, we was running 6.8, 7.2. And that's some even worse than that on some heavy rain events.
So we can track that
Yeah,
basically
yeah.
now and see those.
If I remember right, last time I looked, our flow to the treatment plant, Beverly, you could maybe help me out on this. I think we're down to like 2.1 on that.
Which that's that is an indicator that we'll be watching as we go forward. Probably the biggest indicator though that you can physically see on any given day is if you get a rain event, you know, the manhole down on Front Street on a surcharge
Yeah.
situation.
How many lids pop
Yeah.
off? That's a good indicator.
We haven't, ever since we found the situation over on High Street, there was a box culvert underneath the roadway that had the bottom blown out of it, and it migrated its way to the sewer system via a line that was not capped in the past for whatever reason. And then also we disconnected, or we had the shoe factory disconnect their roof, which was unknown until that project started. So you're talking two very large sources of inflow that could be, 6 to 8 inch pipe flow basically during a heavy rain event. So once those two things happen, we have not had any surcharges on Front Street.
No, and we watch our lift stations, we monitor our lift stations remotely with SCADA system, and we all have it on our phones. And ever since we've had a rain event since then, we maintain a 3-foot level at West End Lift Station in our wet well, and a 5-foot level at Walnut Street. Ever since we found those situations over there, in the last rain events we've had, now we haven't had any big, 3-inch gully washers yet, but it'll come. I'm very confident it's gonna work too. Our lift stations have not raised an elevation in any of those rain events.
Wow.
West End has not left 3 feet. Now, both pumps have kicked on, and it's had to maintain, but it has not raised over 3 feet. Walnut Street went up to 7 feet
Wow.
since then, so.
And it's good, and it's kind of a seek and find. I mean, the more we focus on these 6-inch lines with the slip lining process, the more we'll find some of these unknowns, because that's just, we could never get into them and do any improvements to them unless you dig them up and replace them. So, I'm excited. I think that's a good measure. There was a property owner, a couple property owners that were sustaining some minor backups, I think, that have occurred over an extended period of time. We've not had those ever since we've disconnected those things.
Yep.
So, again, we didn't know it until a sinkhole basically surfaced that there was an issue. So, I think that's probably the biggest indicator.
Great.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Thank you. Okay, how about water? Anything pop up?
Oh, well, nothing's really popping up. We got Meadow Lake update down below. We'll go ahead and move it up. Meadow Lake, I'm still working on getting somebody to fuse the pipe together. That's a challenge because there's not a lot of people that do it, and the people that do it for the whole country. So trying to get them scheduled in, I've made contact with a second person, a group that I'm trying to get something scheduled with. As soon as I get that done, we're ready to roll on that. We'll get it slid underneath the highway. We just got approval, Johnny, you want to add into this one?
Yep.
But we're taking over Pottery Road from 100 to Meadow Lake Farms, which gives us the ability to put the new water line out in the street. And because it's just a transmission line, and it's not servicing anybody but Meadow Lake Farms, we won't have to worry about going back into it at any time in the near future. So we'll be able to move forward on that. So everything is moving forward. It's just at a slow pace. It's getting things, lined up and decided. So
Yeah, to add on to that, so if you recall, whenever Meadow Lake was, I guess, petitioned the city to annex in, we believe that there was a water line sleeve underneath 100. That did not exist. We did everything we could. We ground penetrating radar. We did everything we could to find this sleeve that everyone said was there, but had some rumors that it wasn't, and it actually wasn't. So the boring was kind of an unforeseen. Kevin and I walked where the initial run was to bring water into Meadow Lake, what we always thought it was going to be, and found kind of an alternate, which was Pottery Road. Unfortunately, Pottery was just paved, which we didn't know that at the time either. So in order to kind of mitigate that a little bit, we went to council last night and got approval to actually take over maintenance of Potter Road. It is a brand-new section of road. We didn't feel that was a big deal. We were already running snowplow trucks out there anyway. That wasn't a big deal. What we would do then essentially is put this water line in right off the inside of the curb line, outside the driving path, really underneath the white line, maybe would be the best way to say it. So that actually saves about 400 to 500 feet of pipe run, which has a savings pretty close to what the boring was. So we're just looking for ways to save some money to get water out there to them. They're not, Meadow Lake themselves, they're not concerned. They're getting the same water they've always had at a city rate because we purchase off a bulk rate. So it's not a huge priority to them. We need to get it done because we do pay more for the water than what we sell it for. So not a huge number, but the sooner we get out there, put this to bed, the better everybody, the better everything is, so.
Okay. All right. Moving on to old business.
Well, I just want to let you know too, on the water side, we did get our proposals, our RFQs for the water tower painting. We're kind of sitting on those right now, letting kind of all the other stuff that's been going on. John and I will be reviewing them and making a decision. I'd like to do it before our next meeting, have a decision made for that. But that's something that we had been working on that I hadn't brought up in a while, so I thought it was just well in conversation on the water side, let you know we are working on it. We do have our RFQs. We got 2 of them from 2 companies that are two engineering firms that have worked extensively with Washington, so it's just going to be a matter of picking which one at the time we feel is better, I think, but we'll work on that and figure that out.
Okay.
We'll have it to you for next month's meeting so we can move forward on that. I'd like to go out for bids, get them now so we can get something lined up for either early spring or late fall, see what the numbers are. If we get better prices in late fall, we'll wait till late fall and do it. It's all about saving money. So the towers are in good shape. They just need to be repainted, so.
Yep. Okay. Anything else before we move on to the Frikes?
Okay, Emmy Frank Lift Station. We are heading out there today with our control panel. It came in yesterday. My guys, my crew has done all the installation of the wet well. The only thing that we won't be doing is setting the pumps and wiring them into the control panel. Vanderventer will do that for us because that way if anything happens, they're liable for it, not us. But we're right at the door. It's just a matter of waiting. Now we're waiting for the pumps to come in. So
Okay.
we're ready to go on that. It's a one to try and have it done by the first of the year, but it looks like it's going to be a little after the first of the year just because of material supplies. So
But the bypass is working okay and
bypass is working okay. We've had a couple little hiccups with the pumps that we've had to deal with, but it hasn't caused any issues. It's just normal maintenance, normal stuff you got to deal with when you're bypass pumping, as long as we have been. But it's doing good. I'm excited to get the station up and running. It's going to be a great additive add to our fleet of lift stations for maintenance purposes and everything. It'll be one less thing we have to worry about as far as mechanical maintenance for a while. So it's just everything's a move forward into the new age of equipment. So.
is there anything else out there that goes through that lift station?
Yeah,
For Frikes?
the bus shed goes into that lift station, and the old Melton building, which is
WEG.
still, I'm not sure who's it.
It's WEG, yeah.
It's WEG now. That building does. And then the M&K Distributing, they have a lift station behind their building that pumps up and flows into that station and pumps back out, I think.
Yep,
That
it's
doesn't
a
cross the road.
private hydrant pump.
Yeah, it
Yep.
comes around and goes into it. So there's a few buildings out there that do,
But
it's not
nothing
just
of
Frank's.
major water usage, so,
No. Frank's is our biggest user out there on that one. So.
okay. What else we got to talk about, John? You're at the podium, you must have something on your mind.
I don't,
Oh,
pretty simple. Locust Street, that's the other thing. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we, if you recall, when the Locust Street development went out for RFPs, that was a city-owned property. It went out for RFPs. We went and solicited developers for some housing, basically, in that area. There's 24 or 26 homes that's going essentially on that lot. Part of that development agreement was that we were to upgrade the water line and provide services to, I think, 12 lots, if I recall. We were going to replace that water line anyway, so it was kind of a no-brainer, that we were going to upgrade that line. It was kind of a good kind of carrot for them, I guess, to take care of. That's been completed. That's a pretty big deal because that's actually one of the first times that I'm aware of, kind of in the area where the city has essentially had a piece of property that they went out for RFPs for a residential development. It's not a subsidy, it's not anything like that. It's just a way to try to tackle some of this, housing for working families, those type of things. So we're hopeful that those 26 homes will be basically up and built by spring. I think most of them have been pretty well sold already. So it's moving along pretty quick, but I wanted you to know that this board, participated in that with just kind of getting utilities and things there. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
So,
And for that line, we also, we actually added a line to improve flow, which is what I consider fire flow protection, and it was for the whole area, not just that development, but we ran a line westward along the property that we own right on the south side of the creek, all the way back over to Jefferson Street and tied it in. So that whole area is now looped, which it wasn't before. It is now looped with a nice 6-inch line, which will improve fire flow for the existing residents too. I always want to make sure if anybody's listening to this, when we do things, it's not, like this project was not strictly for that development. I know a lot of people thought that's what we was doing. It was
Yeah.
for the improvement of the rest of the system too. So,
Right.
that's what we do out at Public Works when we look at projects like that. Myself and Chad and Kerry, we sit down and say, okay, what's it going to do for the rest of the community too? So,
Yeah.
I just want everybody to know that we look past just that one little snapshot at what it does for everybody else.
That's good to know.
Where's the sewage going up in that new subdivision up at, was it Weber? That they're building, off of Rabbit Trail, all those houses up
in the back, yeah, that,
between Weber, or between Rabbit Trail and Beaker.
yeah, that flows down to Rabbit Trail. There's a lift station in the back. I think it's Bettany Court. There's a lift station right there. I believe that lift station then pumps to another lift station that flows in the rear of the condos on Rabbit Trail.
It actually flows to,
So
I'll help
where we had all the problems before,
What's that?
when we had the backup before, it's in that sewer line?
The backup was due to, though,
I know.
a lateral.
Yes, it
but
flows
yes.
down that line, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Now, with that being said, though, there is potential that we could eliminate a lift station if some development was to occur on the opposite side of the creek. That does exist. That's another thing we always look at doing is if you can eliminate a lift station, we go to gravity flow, that makes some sense. There's a gravity line on the east side of the creek, just not that far south yet. So we don't have property rights over there. We don't have anything, that's, I think that's Clay Camp Farm, I believe. So, there's some potential there to take that off of that line, which is something we would definitely look at, so. But when you're talking, when you're talking homes like that, you think you have a lot of flow coming out of a house like that. But when you're running 8-inch lines, 30, 40 lots is a drop in the bucket on the amount of sewage. It's not all hitting that pipe at the same time. And that situation was just due to a failure, basically, so.
Okay. Any other discussion to be brought up by anyone?
John, could I ask, I missed the last meeting, and I see in the minutes that you had a long discussion about shut-offs.
Yep.
And I was just wondering if you,
Thanks for
if you reached any conclusions on, how to proceed from there. I noticed late last night, the Congress passed that new bill, and they extended the eviction, the stay on evictions until, I think, March 31st. And I was, but when I saw that, I was thinking about this thing, and like I said, you had quite a bit about it in your last meeting.
I think what we concluded last week was, or last month, as far as the shut-offs, we're still gonna, play good city, good neighbors on that and work with folks. But the other issue was working on a plan to take over the curb stops
Yes.
which
Yep.
would get us ahead of this in the first place, so that's,
Yes, thank you for bringing it up. I apologize, I had it written down here. But, yeah, so it's kind of a twofold situation, right? You have the situation where the curb stops themselves, the tool, I look at it as a tool. That valve has been the ownership of the property owners. That is odd. That's been odd to me since I've started working here. It's always been that way. There's never been
that
really a
way.
reason to change it. But that is a tool for the property owner if they have an issue in their home too, but that tool is really to make sure that if there's a service that's either being paid for or that we need to shut something off for some reason, that we can latch on. Now, we always could, but if there was ever a problem with that curb stop, the property owner was responsible, which seemed very odd to me. So we have a draft ordinance that administration is reviewing right now to bring forth to you all. You know, I think we drafted that pretty quick after the last meeting. I'm not sure where it's sitting right now, but it would take over that curb stop. That would put the tool then in our pocket. What you'll notice on our shut-off list, or you probably haven't seen it, but on the shut-off list is the ones that are extended, the ones that have the large bills. A lot of those were the ones that didn't have those curb stops. Either they were buried under the pavement, they were whatever. Well, code says that we can't really, I mean, it's their curb stop. So we'd send them a letter and say, hey, you didn't pay your bill, but you also got to fix this first before you pay your bill. Like, it never made any sense.
Yeah.
So we have verbiage to clean that up. Another thing what you'll see in the code is that on the payment schedules, the notification that was given by the city to you, so when you would become delinquent, it was like 20 days after the bill went out. You would then be considered delinquent. Then you would be notified like 15 days after you were scheduled to be shut off. It never made any sense. Like the schedules didn't make sense. So what we have drafted is extending the timing to shut you off by another, I don't know what it was, 15 to 30 days to allow you more time to get caught up. It would also then, on your bill, rather than have it in black and white, we would explicitly say you were subject to turn off, try to bring some attention to that. I know there was some conversation that we were maybe going to, Brad and I think actually talked about it, to send out certified mail and all those things. I mean, it's on your bill. I mean, we could send out another mailer, but it's on the bill. Can we print that on yellow paper, maybe? That's kind of what we're looking into to bring more attention to that bill, okay? And then finally, there is a payment plan that was set up in 2015, 14, 13.
14 or something like that.
I mean, it was a little while ago. That was extremely front-loaded. What that means is that it was kind of an either-or. You would be subject to turn-off unless you wanted to get on this payment plan. Well, if you owed like $500, the payment plan made you pay like $300 of it up front, and then it would like, it was very front-loaded. It would just kind of wean its way down to get caught back up again. Where our proposal has it kind of over more of a 5-month process where you pay basically 20% of your delinquent bills over that time to try to spread that payment plan out a little more. Those are the things we're looking at help. Does that provide any meaningful help to people? I don't know. You know, how do you tackle bills that aren't getting paid?
yeah.
I think I would need a little direction from you. I don't think that it's wise for us to subsidize any bills by any means. So you have to kind of chip away at them. Right now, I don't know how many shutoffs we've been doing. I think we've been going after the very minor or major ones and working with people, but we are not like, you know, out there on a schedule shutting people off right this second. Should we be? Well, you haven't given us a direction to stop, so maybe we should be, but
Should be, but not right now in 2020, that's for sure.
we are still doing shutoffs. However, it's on a very slow process due to the other projects we have going on. We have not focused on it. That's probably the best way I can say it.
Right.
I also asked United Way, I asked Kim if they were getting many requests, you know, for assistance on these things, and she said with the federal stay on evictions and then with the city not pushing that, she said they have not. But she says we're kind of wondering if we should start getting ready for that sort of thing. But so anyway, I agree with John. I don't think we should push it right now. But I was just curious, and I would also say if the board feels like, hey, if we do something on this action, on this particular issue, if we want some support, I think, sending it and asking the council to support whatever it is you come up with would be welcome, I think.
I think that is important because as staff, we are kind of in this purgatory. We're not really sure how to handle it. We do need maybe a little direction or some thought that goes into that. We're trying on the code side to get caught up, but, how do we haven't been getting really any direct direction on, should we be stopping doing it for a moment of time? I know like in March and April, we actually came to you with a recommendation based upon other communities, and I think the American Water,
Yeah, Missouri
Rural Water,
American
I think
Water,
put out
yeah.
some guidance, and that
What-
essentially rescinded in the summertime,
What's the impact been? I mean, I know you talked about a number last month, but right now, how much has there been an impact from people that haven't been paying the bills to the department?
I don't know, Kevin, I don't have that last number.
Yeah, I don't have the,
Is it
current one.
significant? I mean, is it?
It's, there's outstanding bills that are pushing the, probably,
Well, at one point in time last week, it was at 70,000. I ran one
Yeah.
the other day, and it's like at 49, 50,000.
Yeah, it kind of fluctuates. Some months it's, like Beverly said, it was almost 70,000, it was 69 something.
And what's the total?
That's total owed, or that's?
That was
for a
total
year?
owed, total owed
Total back-
everybody from 1 month all the way out to 4 month.
total delinquent owed.
Total delinquent accounts,
And
yes.
how much money do we generate? I mean, are we bringing in? Just
Geez, I don't
roughly.
have that number either off the top of my head.
No, the generating as far as, but
Well-
I know that our month, we have like 120-something that are on the 1 monthers. The 2 monthers, we've got like 80-something.
I
That's
guess what I'm
numbers.
asking
You're
is
wanting
what's
to know.
percentage
The
of
amounts.
The total water
Yeah.
bills.
I emailed that to you, Kevin. Maybe you can,
Yeah, the revenue, what's the total revenue from?
Per month.
Yeah.
revenue, I didn't.
Well,
Let's see.
Thank you, Brad.
hold on one second.
And then the other number I would ask is what was, if we're running,
It looks like for the period of, ending on 11/30, we generated 163,000.
I didn't see that one,
That
Kevin.
was 1 month, Kevin?
That mean we had almost 50%.
No. I think the fiscal activity is for the month, I think, was 325,000.
So that's,
so about 20% delinquent then?
Well, but some of those are 4 or 5 months. I think he's talking 1 month's revenue.
Yeah, Kevin's number, I mean, yeah, water sales themselves, if you just take the budget that we have 1.65 million, divided by 12, that's 140-ish thousand is what you get in just in water sales alone, okay? So, correct, if we tell you 30,000 is what's averaging delinquent, that's not on the specific month, because that goes months behind.
okay.
So, I don't have that number, but, I think a fair assessment would be is you're running on your revenue side about 10% being delinquent, and what I did there was I took 20,000 a month divided by 140 is what I did. Which, are those hard numbers? No. Are they discussion numbers? Probably.
What were we pre-COVID?
Oh, geez, I don't have that sitting here.
That'd be the kind of numbers you need to know. Or if you're,
I think pre-COVID, we were probably running about the same. I don't think it's changed a whole lot on the actual numbers before, except we were actively going
so
after
that
the
if
ones that.
Well,
pre-COVID was the same
Pre-COVID,
right now, then I don't know why we would be delaying shut-offs.
well, it wasn't though. Pre-COVID, we were aggressively hitting shut-offs pre-COVID. We were down to, on any given month, about what, 45
Yeah,
to 48 on a delinquent account. We'd go shut off. Now we're.
Number of, correct?
Number
people.
of delinquents. Now we got to, reason why we got to change the code, I'm going to put this out so everybody can understand it. Our code said that we would shut off if you were 1 month delinquent. Since I've been with the city of Washington almost 21 years, we never shut off 1 month. We always shut off the second month. So if you would look at the shut-off list now, you would see, could be 250, 300 people, but the majority of them are on the 1 month. Then we go to the 2 month and you start looking at it, that's where we start doing our shut-off at. Pre-COVID, we were down to about 48 on the 2-month, 3-month, and 4-month.
That's a number.
That's a number of shut-offs. Now, I don't know dollar amount, but I know because I look at total number of delinquents more than dollar amounts. I know I should look at dollar amounts, but
If
for
you
my
took-
side of
if-
it, I
just
need to
give
know
you
how
some-
many.
If you took 45 and you multiply
Yeah.
by 40 bucks, 50
Since
bucks.
COVID, we are now up to,
$1,000.
could be anywhere from 120. At one point, we were 200, then they dropped down to 110. They bounce around. We're
That's on
staying-
2 months.
Yeah, for 2 months. So so when we hit 2 months, when COVID hit, we stopped doing shut-offs, and of course, those ones bumped up. They've never gotten over, I don't think they've ever gotten over 200, I don't think. So it's kind of a floating number in there, what we've got. So, but pre-COVID, I don't want anybody to think that pre-COVID, we were as bad off as we are now, because we was not. My guys were very aggressive, well, they were aggressive because I was. Every month, we had 3 people, we split the shut-off list into three sides, and they went out and did shut-offs. That was their job, that's all they did. We shut 1 week down just to do that. So we were doing really good and aggressively on our shut-offs, as we called them, 2 months and on. But since COVID hit, it's a rolling number all the time, so.
If you get shut down, I would assume that there's a startup fee again too, isn't there?
There is.
Yes,
Yeah, that's another thing that we were looking at adding is there's a fee to turn you back on during business hours. We were also, and if you did not hit that business hours at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then you would not get your water shut back on to the next day till business hours. So we're also looking at doing another convenience charge that if you want it back on after hours, and we got to call an after hours guy back in, you pay for that. I think that's reasonable. So again, is that I look at that as a positive. It gives you, as the person who was shut off, the ability to get your water turned back on at 6 o'clock at night, where you didn't have that before. Now, does somebody who's not paying their bill see that as a benefit? Probably not.
Well, it looks like there's a lot of work being done on your part with the code and the process.
Correct.
And I think once we get once you get that cleaned up and we have a better feel, then we can go through that again, back to Mark's comment, then if there's anything in there, I like where you're going with this payment plan and offering people those kind of things, but let's get it on black and white and make it clear to them. It's like, here, you owe us money, and this is how you can get through it, and this is how it's gonna cost you, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, the other thing is working on the ordinance to change who owns the curb stop.
Right.
So we got 2 things going on. One of them seems pretty easy and straightforward. I think the curb stops, that's always been a mystery to me in the first place, and I'm sure it's been a mystery to a lot of people.
Shut it off if we don't control.
But then the process with the delinquents, if we can fine tune that
Try to
and
scare
give
the
us,
property owner in there.
Well, and the whole thing is what we'd like to do is get to a situation where we're being consistent on what we do month to month.
Right.
So for example, it's kind of been a little bit of a floating target, like if manpower was available, we'd do shut-offs, and we were doing really well at it. Because it's one of the goals we had was get on a consistent schedule, you know what I mean, rather than this floating around a little bit. And right now, we are in that gray area of floating around a little bit, and we just kind of claw ourselves out of that a little bit.
Just in today's environment, wouldn't it make a lot of sense that the curb stop, to me, would seem like the most important thing? Because if you control that, then you can turn it off at however you want to do it. Because there's too many people running around now that are losing their nuts, their minds, and you'd hate to put any of our employees into any jeopardy too.
Well, we always have the ability to turn water off on the curb stop. That, I don't want, keep in mind, we can touch, that's all. I mean, we have the right to turn it off. It's just we don't own it if there's an issue with it.
So we do turn it off at the.
We do. Oh, yeah, for
Yes.
sure. That's the only way we can turn it off.
Okay.
But, so the right's always been there. It's just the physical, what we see on some of these leaks, are, for example, a leak, a curb stop leaking, you guys maybe would get some calls in the past, well, it's been leaking for 2 or 3 months. Well, yeah, because we're going through a notification process that you're in violation of city code. Well, that doesn't happen overnight. But if the curb stop was ours, we could fix that
get it over with.
within 2 or 3 days. I mean, just
Yeah.
schedule it, get it done, which is a benefit. To the flip side, if you're on a shut-off list, I mean, some of these property owners potentially know that they can't get to the curb stop. So they don't pay their bill because they know we can't shut the water off.
Well-
We don't go and then actively go put one in for whatever reason, A, because the code really doesn't allow us to do that, and we need to go through the process saying, no, you need to get a curb stop in because that's, the code says it. And it becomes this, government kind of bureaucratic situation where we're always dealing with,
Well, once
nobody's
that,
solving any problems.
once that curb stop becomes ours, and that delinquent customer sees the truck outside digging up the street.
Yep.
Maybe it'll get their attention that the next thing we're gonna do is,
Right.
It does.
for the long-term offenders, COVID or no COVID.
There's that, I think the yellow, oh, I'm sorry.
It would seem like the curb stop is really the key to the whole thing.
It is.
If we had that control and we had them in places where you could easily get to them.
Well, there's a key to the whole thing, but you still have the issue of COVID where you have this obvious want and need to not shut
I
people off the
understand
water.
COVID, but
Those
I
are two
mean,
separate,
I'm talking about, that's not gonna be with us forever. This
Right.
is a situation that needs to be addressed.
and I can easily, we are 95% with a good code revision that's getting reviewed with administration and finance right this second. I sent out an email yesterday, where you guys at with this type of thing,
And
so.
we can push hard to get it to next month's meeting.
Yeah. And-
Staff-wise, and on my end of it, staff-wise, we're ready to move on it.
Okay,
John and I have reviewed it, and we're ready to move on it. So
My point on it was what John mentioned earlier. I think, yeah, that part they're taking care of, and they need to take care of that with the stops and all that stuff for the future. But I think they have been, because of COVID, they have been not even the ones they could shut off, they haven't been shutting off
Yes.
because of COVID. And I think they need the support of both the board and the council for doing that. I mean, they're just going by the seat of their pants right now. Well,
Well-
how long are we gonna do it, How long are we gonna do it?
what happens out in the field, because that's what I deal with, what happens out in the field is it becomes the person that shows up at the house's fault that their water's getting turned
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
They don't care about anything behind a wall, behind a door. It's that person right there with that tool is the bad guy turning their water off.
Well, and right now, he is.
And it
He's the
gets very-
person that's it.
It's very, it gets, it's scary out there when you show up to a house when you got this 6-foot tall, 290-pound guy coming out in his underwear because he was gonna take a shower and he doesn't have any water. And it happens. So we don't know it, we've got the call the police department if you need backup, but by the time something happens, it's too late. So I have to worry about that with my guys on a daily basis through this period right now. Before, pre-COVID, it wasn't that big a deal. People knew they were gonna get shut off. Now these people that know that they should be shut off think they don't have to be shut off because we're in the COVID situation. It becomes, it's dangerous out there.
Could I just throw out there maybe that we do is, between now and next month's meeting, we will work on getting the code revision taken care of. That's not an issue at all. We will also, continue doing what we're doing as far as, shut-offs, which isn't very much. And maybe we'll get an agenda item, or we should get an agenda item just to talk about, should we or should we not suspend for an X amount of time?
yeah,
That's what we need.
right.
And we need to make sure that we make that decision very well. And that gives us time then to put the numbers together that Brad asked for that I just don't have right now to help make that decision.
Yeah,
Is that?
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's the best we can do.
that's good.
And in between then and now, I mean, you have, 2 holidays and everything else. 3 holidays, actually. Things are moving pretty slow anyway, so, I don't know. The other thing is, I don't know what the federal government, I don't know much about the stimulus thing. I mean, but there's monies out there that are coming to people's homes to get their bills paid and things like that. Now, those monies obviously get whittled down a little bit to other needs and things, but I mean, water is an essential need.
Well, it is, and I certainly understand Mark's point from this board, because we need to support what's going on so that we can support the council, and the council can support the administration. And from what I'm seeing and hearing, we've always had delinquent account issues, but during the past several months, during the past almost a year now, the administration, the city, Kevin's folks, we're doing the best we can to work with people, and that's the key. And we endorse that. If if you decide, hey, we're not, we can't shut these people off right now. We know that. We're there. We're working with you on that. And I think the more we do with the paperwork, so in the coming months, we can actually put together a plan as we get out of COVID. Of course, that's going to take several months for us to get out of COVID and get the economy back, but as we get out of it, then we can at least say, here's the plan now on how we're going to deal with these
Yes.
folks that aren't paying.
Start fresh. That's kind of what we're looking.
Right, yeah. Because from my point, I brought it up last month, I guess, on shut-offs, because it used to be a point where it's like, by golly, how come you're not doing more, and we go down the list, and then you shut off more. Well, that wasn't the point of bringing it up this time. This time, it's maybe we need to make some drastic changes in the paperwork and the way we're operating. So we'll work on that so we can do better in the future.
I think the biggest thing here is when we get out of here, we need to have a procedure that is very well written
Yeah.
and that we follow to a T to never be in a situation where we're having to make these decisions again.
Yep.
That's what we need. I mean, I know we got to get to that point, and I know this whole COVID is new to all of us, but once that procedure's in place, then we never got to worry. We just lean on that procedure. And I think that's where we need to get to.
What do you think the percentage is of just people that are to a point where they got no chance at ever catching up? Small amount?
Oh, it's a small amount.
Yeah.
It's a very small amount. I mean, you're less than 10, numbers wise, for sure.
Okay.
Does that, well, I don't, that's all I probably should say, but yeah.
Well, one of the things with not paying bills, I don't care what bill it is, we're all in the same boat. There's such a thing as being delinquent and paying a bill that you owe somebody money. There's also a case where it's a hardship case. And I don't know legally where you get in between the difference of, hey, I'm just not paying the bill, or I can't pay the bill. I'm unemployed, and so on and so on and so on. That's probably getting a little bit too much into personal information that we don't need to know about, but it's a matter of fact.
Well, our water rates are still in the lowest 5 in the state,
Yeah,
and the taxpayers pay to get that water out of the ground and send it to your house. So, should is there should the government be subsidizing you? Because I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know. I can't answer that. I'm just saying, keep that in mind.
yeah,
That it does not come out of that ground for free.
yep,
So, stuff to think about maybe next month.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, good call. Anything else, anybody? Next meeting scheduled for January 26th, in 2021, right?
I'm sorry, did I? 22?
We don't want to do
It's fine.
20 again.
Well, we're not starting over.
These are minor things.
I am so ready,
Man,
I'm so ready for it to be over.
that's scary, looking at that again. We don't want to, we
Got
don't
that
want to
date down,
repeat.
Kevin?
I got it. I'll be there.
That's very minor too.
I would like to apologize
We'll
again.
work through that too.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned, thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Tiny
Happy New
Tim.
Year, that's right.
John, I do not.
Maybe your daughter's gonna be pitching this spring.
You
Pardon me?
what?
Is your daughter gonna be pitching?
I got
She should be. If they get to play, she will be. She's one of the 2 starters for college.
Beverly, our meeting's
The last Tuesday of the month.
Oh, yeah?
The fourth,
Well, I got it, Mark Scornia has got it set up that myself and my crew will be in the 1B section of shots, which will be the next round,
sorry, I ran out.
so that we can get them, so that we can continue to keep riding water and sewer to people without getting shut down completely.
That's great.
Show me how to work.
There's an end in sight.
Yep. Gotta keep moving forward to it, but.
Brad, it's not, it's not.
We're making
It's
progress.
not too bad out this
You
way.
make me cold just looking.
It's the things that
Nice
go on
little jog
behind the
this morning, wasn't
scenes
too
that we don't know about when it comes to these ordinances and all of the paperwork.
you know, I had enough clothes on. It wasn't that.
Yeah, I mean, you do it every day, so.
You get used to it, and then it wasn't. There was no wind. No wind today was huge.
Yesterday.
It was yesterday.
Yesterday was windy.
Yeah, it was
Yesterday
horrible
hot.
yesterday.
Yesterday was warmer temperature, but felt much colder.
Oh, yes, you are. Gonna have to reevaluate that intersection.
They gotta do.
Ain't gonna be a night.
Shit, they had, I bet they had, I don't know,